why do you think art matters?
I think art matters because it creates, feelings, but also memories. I don't know if I actually told you about this, but when I was growing up in Arizona, my mom was, she was right when I went to kindergarten, she was substitute teaching, and she was like just she hadn't worked for years. We had 5 kids, and she wanted to, get out of the house and go back to work. And she was an art history major. And so she decided to start this like mini course in the Scottsdale School District, which was teaching people the basics of art. And she didn't, she didn't really care about getting paid. And she really, for her, it was like everybody should know what a Picasso looks like and what the backstory was. And so she would go into, schools, and I think it was typically like 2nd and 3rd grade. And she would just call the schools and say, is there any way that I could come in and, do this and like talk about like these different art courses these different artists. And it was interesting because I remember her saying like it was never during the art class. It was actually during like the regular rest time or break time or whatever. She would come in. And so she had all these different artists, 5 different artists, Renoir and Picasso and Matisse, and and it was a very basic story on how to like recognize it and what their stories were. And I when she passed away about 10 years ago, it was interesting because there were a few people at the funeral who mentioned this to me, like they still like recognize art back to her stories of how she actually brought that into the school system. And that was her happiness, because she, as a history major, she really believed that there were like 5 or 6 core individuals. And so you think about, like, for me, storytelling is so important, and aspects like that, created a lot of happiness for my mom, that she felt like she was able to teach in a way that was very simple. And oftentimes people, said like they didn't even think like that day that they were actually picking up on anything or necessarily even enjoying themselves. But then, they remember still to this day what they learned, right? And so I think like that is that is so impactful. And that is why, I think that is also, who I am too, like just going back into kind of the, the core of like what I like the stories, and, and where they came from, and because I feel like they have meaning, and ultimately they, they show strength, and and they bring a lot of happiness as well, and maybe sadness too along the way. But I think that they really create something that is memorable.